My name is Bradley Merritt. I'm the Director of Career Services, obviously here at Barry. We are going to have a couple of these young gentlemen discuss a little bit about Family Law in support.
Well, thank you for coming. We definitely appreciate it. Josh and I'm Andrew Wendell. This is Josh Martell. We are both with the Family Law in Court, which is a local legal society that promotes professionalism within the community. It's focused, as the name says, on family law, and basically what we do is 125 attorneys, judges, and 2 students from each law school locally. And the idea is that basically we join together once a month to give a continuing legal education course and to break bread together, so that we always keep in mind the need for civility within the profession, because if you're dining with people and you see them on a regular basis, you're much more accountable to them in person, and it creates a lot of reduction in the lack of civility that sometimes exists in practice. And so we're very proud to say that as a result of this organization, there has been a tremendous level of civility within the family practice, and we consider our area, Central Florida, to have one of the most cohesive groups of family law practitioners in the state. So basically what we're looking for is for applications. We're here to ask anybody who's interested in the group to make an application as a student member. Again, there are 2 student members from each of the local law schools, Barry and FAMU. They're what are called scholarship positions, so there's no fee obligation with respect to them. The other members pick up the dues on your behalf. And as a result of that, basically all you'd be asked to do is to come out and to meet most of the premier family law practitioners in Central Florida, along with most of the judges who preside over the family law bench in the local counties. Orange, Osceola will be a little bit of a draw from Seminole, and then occasionally we'll have some of the judiciary from some of the ancillary counties as well. Basically what happens in itself is that we break up the 125 members into different pupillage groups of about 12 to 13 people. And as a result of that, you're going to have direct interaction with a lot of senior attorneys, but we space it out so that the senior attorneys and the mid-level attorneys and the young attorneys are all put together on groups, so that there can be different levels of engagement. And then it's also a really easy format to meet other people in the community and people who are sometimes more difficult for younger attorneys to approach. It essentially creates an easy way to have that interaction that everybody's looking for. And as a result of that, it's often used as a mechanism for employment, for moving up, even if you already have a job and you're looking for a different position, or you're looking to move up in terms of, there's been partnerships that have been formulated out of this organization, first-time jobs, lots of different things. And in a moment, Josh is going to share his experience about the M and how that affected his own professional situation and his real-life experience with it. But I can say that I've been very, very influenced by this organization as well. I practiced for a number of years before I joined the family law, and I practiced almost exclusively family law. And so I would see people in court, but I wouldn't really get to know them on a more personal level. And now that I've joined them, and I've been a member for about 5 years, and been on the board for about 5 years, and been a director for I think about 3 years or so, there's been a situation where essentially when I go into any courtroom setting, I instantly know almost everybody that's there. It's on a very friendly basis. I see these people out of court. I see them socially, and I know them very well. And it really does, the embodiment of creating civility, it really is a very genuine thing that occurs through this organization, because when you see these people and when you do things with them outside of court, when you see them socially, when you see them over dinner, all of these different things really do create a level of accountability that just can't be had through any other mechanism. It really creates a situation where you see them and you have difficult discussions with them, but if there gets to be a point where ordinarily there'd be a lot of dissension in the case, and they may do things that are less than professional, it's a very easy way to curtail it and brings people back to kind of the baseline with it, and things are much more productive for your clients as a result of that. And the bottom line with it as well, that as a practitioner, when you're actually engaging in this, it makes the experience so much more pleasant. The calls are cordial. You actually look forward to talking to the people that you're going to talk to. You have great conversations. You can get right to the bottom line of it for your client. And that is not just my experience. That is what we hear routinely over and over and over again from all the folks. And again, again, with 125 members, it is almost all of the family law practitioners that do this on a very serious level within Central Florida. But we're at the point now where we capped enrollment at 125, and as a result of that, we have a waiting list, and we've had a waiting list for the last couple of years for people who are trying to apply to get in that are experienced practitioners. So as a member coming in at this level, it would be something that would be very beneficial as well, because if you utilize that properly, then there would be an expectation on the board that as it rolls over and it comes time that you're an associate level for the group, that you would come into the group as well, and it would sort of put you at that front of the waiting list. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Josh to talk about his experience with the group.
Yeah, so it's a lot of information about our group and all the different things about it. One thing I will, just as a side note before I get into my own little personal story, I will tell you that I've only been practicing for about 3 years now, and so it wasn't that long ago that I was in your shoes, sitting where you guys are sitting at a law school down the road, actually. And one of the most eye-opening things for me was not how unreasonable the clients were, but how unreasonable sometimes opposing counsel can be, and how difficult having a difficult opposing counsel can be to your case. So when Andrew talks about how if you build relationships with people, things change, that is definitely true, and I've seen that personally. You know, there's some people in our inn that can tend to be maybe a little bit more aggressive litigators or whatnot, but just because you have that personal relationship with them, they won't treat you the same way they may treat other attorneys. You may be able to come to agreement on different things that you wouldn't be able to if you didn't have that personal relationship. So I think that is really important, but really what I wanted to talk about is why, because that's all great if you're an attorney and you've been practicing and you have a job and all that kind of stuff, but what if you're a law student sitting here today? Why would you spend one Monday a month at a dinner with a bunch of attorneys? Why would you care to do that? Well, I thought the same question when I was in my 3rd year of law school and looking for a job, trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was interning at that time with O'Mara Law Group, which is my current employer, but wasn't my employer, wasn't my first job, and we'll get to that point in a second. But I was interning, but I wasn't guaranteed a job with them, and I didn't know what to do, where to go. So I saw this opportunity to become a pupil member with the Central Florida Family Law in a court, and I figured, you know, what do I have to lose? So I started attending meetings and trying to network as best I could at the meetings and meet people. And at first it's a little bit scary because you don't really know anybody, but you guys would know at least 2 people, so that's a positive thing. But you know, you put yourself out there, you build relationships, and one day I just happened to be sitting next to this attorney. Her name's Nancy Weber, and she happens to be one of the most well-reputed mediators and family law attorneys in Central Florida. She's been practicing for over 30 years. Everyone knows who she is except me. And I was talking with her, and she was asking me about my family, very nice lady. And you know, chatted with her for 20, 30 minutes, and that was it. Told her I was interning at Mark's office, but looking for a job. And 3 or 4 months later, as I was continuing to stress out about finding my first job, I get an email from Nancy saying, hey, there's a woman in a court that is, her associate just left, and she's looking for an associate, and I gave her your name. And I said, oh, so great, you know, so I contacted that person. It was one interview, and I was hired. She didn't interview anyone else, and that's how I got my first job. And I practiced with that attorney for a couple years, and then Mark brought me back to his firm. And even since then, I've been asked to sit on the board of the Family Law in a Court as an associate member, which is a huge honor. And for some reason, they made me the treasurer. I still don't actually know why they did that. But so it's been a very positive experience for me, and it started because I just decided to go to one of those meetings. And I really think, because I know that, and this isn't a knock on Barry or FAMU, but when you go to a smaller law school, it's not like it is with some of the bigger law schools where you get an internship and you're pretty much guaranteed a job, or maybe it's not that job, your boss will give you another job. It's fairly difficult to find jobs. It's not just even with law schools being small, it's just with the market right now. There's so many attorneys, it's difficult to find that first job. And I think it's somewhat difficult for law schools to really, that's why you have the career development department and everything to help you with that, to assist you with that, but it's hard for them to find avenues where there can be literally a concrete nexus to potentially getting a position with a firm, and I think that this is one of those nexuses. And I'm not sitting here guaranteeing that if you become a pupil member that you're going to get a job or anything like that, but what I will tell you is it's a really good opportunity to get yourself out there, to put yourself in front of attorneys that maybe not today they're looking for somebody, but maybe tomorrow they will be, and they'll remember your face. And the next thing you know, you got an interview and you have your first job. So, you know, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that if you want to be a pupil member, you do need to be interested in family law. You know, if you're thinking of practicing in some other area, it's probably not a good fit for you, because they're literally every single attorney is a family law attorney. You know, they might do some other things as well, criminal and stuff like that, civil litigation, but for the most part, they're practicing family. So other than that, I think Andrew covered basically all the other information. Does anyone have any questions?
What is the application process?
Sure, good question. Go ahead.
Basically, you're just going to contact either of us, Josh or myself, and I've got some business cards for anybody who wants them. We can get contact information, and all we're looking for is basically just a brief email about the reason that you're interested, along with a resume or any other information that you'd like to send. And at that point, basically what will happen is the board's going to sit down with the applications that we get, and we'll go through them pretty quickly, because one of the goals that we have is to implement this for this year, because in the past, we've had students in the past, but we kind of went away from it for a couple of years, and we wanted to get back to it very quickly. And our year is not a calendar year; it's based off of a September start date. So our first meeting is going to be in September, and then we have 8 meetings throughout the year on a monthly basis, skipping December. So basically, what will happen is if you just inquire, then we'll be getting back with everybody in very short order about what that looks like. And if you are a 2L or if you're a 3L but in night school, so have 1 more year, then you can also feel free to make an application again next year. Because typically speaking, with the student scholarships, for the most part, we're going to be looking at it from perspective of there's probably going to be a rotation of students through, as opposed to the same 2 students coming for multiple years.
And that's a good point too, is that you know, you certainly are welcome to apply if you're a 1L or 2L, but I think to get the most impact out of it, it probably is better to be close to graduating. But you know, maybe not. It might. That's not a disqualifying factor. One email, if you want to jot this down, that you can send resumes to. You can send it to Andrew too, but you can forward those over to them. Is CF. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, CF Family Law In. CF Family Law In. No S. Family Law In @gmail.com. That's our generic email, and we can accept applications there, or you can send the Andrew's email on his business card. I'm a slacker and didn't bring business cards.
Would you prefer they email me and I forward them?
That would work as well. That would work as well.
Any method is fine. Yeah, we're not.
It's up to you all how you want it filled.
Not particular. Any way you get the information to us, whether you want to go through Diane, whether you want it to go to that email, or whether you want to just grab a card, it's all going to end up at the same spot, and then we're going to have basically the stack of them, and they're all going to be presented to the board at the same time, and then the board will make a vote at that time, and then there's going to be no delay in turnarounds. My suggestion is that you have it to us. You're going to have a little bit more time, I would suggest, within the next 2 weeks, because we still are going over to FAMU. So in the interim time, because we're going to want to do them all together, so in the interim time, you guys will have a little bit more time than they will for
So the
turnaround.
26th is the last Monday of the month. Is that what you want?
That works for us.
That'd be great.
Yes.
So then you'd be able to come, if you get selected, to the October meeting as your first meeting.
Are they required to be there at every Monday meeting? like
No, but
month?
that is a good point. If you have class on Monday night, it's probably not a good fit for you, because that's the whole point, is going to the meetings. So, you know, the meetings are from 5:30 to 7:30.
Yes.
So if it's a later class, maybe you can make it alone. Sure, I guess later class will probably start before 7:30. But that is something you want to take into, you know, because if you're not going to the meetings, you're not going to get any benefit of that meeting.
Yeah, and there is a policy within the end itself, and attendance is a big part of that policy. And so it's going to require both attendance at the Monday meetings as well as at your small pupillage group meetings, and those are not set to a particular day. The pupillage group themselves makes those, but they try to accommodate the schedule of the group as a whole. And the idea basically is that the big meetings are great because you get to see everybody on a global scale, you get to see the general interaction, but then the small meetings are also really important because that's where you get more of the one-on-one interaction. You actually meet people on a deeper level, and usually if you've done a small pupillage group with somebody, then they're going to pretty much till the end of the time recall who you are and understand, know your name, understand what you're all about. And as Josh said, I mean, it's not uncommon at all. There's, I mean, a lot of hiring is done through the end. I can say for myself that I was already employed when I started at the end, and I had a family law job, and I met the requirement of practicing over 50% family law, which is the baseline threshold for being a member of the family law, and that all attorneys must be at least 50% family law
And you have to be a nice person.
well, they'll make it occasionally.
Yeah.
So, and then what happened as a result of being a member of the end is that I wanted to be in a family exclusive firm, because the family law firm that I was in, the component of family that they had was essentially me. I'd taken over all of the family law cases in the entire firm, and it got to the point where my level of knowledge with family exceeded that of the managing partner there, which is really a very common thing, because a lot of firms will build themselves as family law firms, just throw an associate in the role, and then after the associate gets on their feet, they kind of just wash their hands of that, and there's not much guidance there. And so what I wanted was to basically go to the next level, find one of the few practitioners in family that was reputed as being the best in the area. And so that's what I did as a result of that, and then worked there for a couple of years before starting my own firm. And for me, it was really instrumental because you do things at a much higher level. When you're in those practices, you have access to cases that these other firms just don't bring in, where the complexity of the financial planning of the state, things like that, it's a whole different mechanism of practice, utilizing experts and things like that you don't do a lot of in some of the other family law practices in town.
And I can't emphasize enough the level of people that go to these meetings. My boss, Mark O'Mara, has been practicing for over 30 years, one of the most well-known family law attorneys in Central Florida, is a member there, past president. We have past Orange County Bar Association presidents. I don't know if we have the current ones a member there.
The one who just finished up and rolled out is coming on as a new member, and actually that was one of the things there too, where the rigor actually got in her way, because she was looking to get more and more into the investment in family practice, and she was only at about 40% family practice, and so she had to break that threshold to get there, to get up to 50% family practice, which is the only reason that she was excluded previously.
And then the judges too, and I can't tell you how valuable that is to have some face time in front of the judges in a personal setting. Not only does it just make it easier to practice in front of them, because you're not as nervous, because you know that they're normal human beings and they're nice people, most of them at least, and so it makes it easier to practice in front of them. But also, I like to think that if you are a good human being and you show that to them in an outside the courtroom, that maybe there is an area where they'll give you the benefit of the doubt if it's a close call, or they'll take your word for something if you need them to take your word for something. So it helps in that area too. I mean, it is really, I can't tell you how important I believe that organization is to my personal professional advancement and career. It really has been a huge blessing to me. So.
And with the judges, it's also really nice too, because you get to hear their little pet peeves with things, the way they want things done. So that just the way you formulate your arguments, the way that you present things to them, can be in keeping with what their requests are. And the judges do put out judicial manuals, but there's 8 domestic judges in Orange County alone, and then there's practice in Osceola and Seminole as well. So just actually hearing it from their lips, it makes a huge difference in terms of the ability to understand what they're really looking for, and to try to deliver it to them in the format that they want to go.
Any other questions? Cool. All right, well, we'll be looking forward to everyone's applications within a couple weeks here, and hopefully we'll see a couple of you in October. All right. Thank you.